Still Laura Marcusa. Still a member of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Venice, and we welcome you all to this Sunday service.
Steve's not here. He's right there. It's your turn.
Good morning. My name is Steve Leapley. I'm your Vice President of the Board of Trustees, we'll call it. I've been asked to give you an update on what's going on with the storm damage on the campus and what we're doing about it. But before I do you notice I have my hat in my hand? That's an old story about that. I can't wear a hat in church because if I do, I expect Sister Mary Joseph to appear and whack my knuckles. All right. First and most important, we did not have any injury or death in our congregation. That's amazing right there. Most of our congregants had minor damage or no damage or inconvenience. Sally, our secretary, lost a roof to her mobile home. That's the most damage that I'm aware of. This past Wednesday, I asked for volunteers from both our congregation and Blue Lotus to come and help clean up the campus. Now, because a lot of people didn't have internet, etc., the showing wasn't wonderful, but it was good. We probably had about 20 or 25 people. We did a spectacular job. There's all sorts of photographs around about it. If you take a look when you come onto campus, all that stuff that's at the curb, that's because of the volunteers. I have contracted with a tree service to come in hopefully early this week to do the rest of it. We did not lose any trees, but we have an awful lot of hanging stuff that's dangerous that needs to be removed. Let's see what else we have. Okay, solar panels. Our biggest loss monetarily is probably solar panels. We lost 7 solar panels off the roof that are not reusable. On Monday, I will be assigning a contract with Harriman's Solar to replace those panels and to put everything back together. Right now, we're running on Florida Power and Light Electric, so we're trying to be careful about air conditioning and lights and such. That contract will cost the congregation $7,052, a bargain at this point. What most of you do not realize is that our wind damage has a deductible of $70,000. And if we didn't have that deductible, the rate is so ridiculous. So we've looked at it several times, and it does not include trees. However, the board has asked our finance committee to look into different grants, etc. And the UUA, it looks like we should be able to get some money from the UUA. They're offering, I believe, in the area of $20,000. And then the finance committee is going to be looking at FEMA and any other thing. Any place we can get money, we're going to get it. So we're not going to get hurt too badly financially, hopefully. Let's see what else we have. We're going to have a roof inspection, a professional roof inspection, the week of the 17th on all 3 of our roofs to determine what kind of damage we have. That will be taken care of. And let's see, what else do we have? More to follow, but okay. We are going to have a congressional commentary, question and answer the first Sunday of November. We've canceled it for this Sunday for various different reasons. We should be able to fill you in with a lot more at that time. Now I'm going to turn it over to the professionals here, but I'm just going to say, welcome to our church. Remember when I said our church? That's important. We're going to need all your support. We're going to need you for your time, your treasure, like Reverend Kleber used to say, your participation, and may I even say your prayers. Thank you.
Good morning, Kathy Avery, Director of Religious Education. I have two announcements today. The first announcement is today is our special offering, and in light of all the tragedy that we have had, we are donating to the All Faiths Food Bank, which is then giving it to the Florida State Emergency Response Team. So these things will stay very local and help out all the people who have had any problems around. The next announcement I have is about our wheelbarrow. Please come and donate food to our wheelbarrow. It is currently being donated to South Sarasota County Food Bank. Thank you for your generosity.
A Chalice Lighting for When Things Aren't Okay by Reverend Molly Brewer. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now, that there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in that love.
Well, good morning. I missed everybody last week. I'm Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw. My pronouns are they or she, and we're gathered here today on land that is the traditional territory of the indigenous Calusa people. And this service is sort of a bookend to the one that we did 2 weeks ago. They go together because it's almost impossible to separate Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, because the ideas are so tied to one another. So we're going to be talking about Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish Day of Atonement, the ideas that go around that, and that just finished this past week. We would have originally been talking about it while we were still in the High Holy Days. We're going to call ourselves into our service with these words by Rabbi Jack Reamer. It's called On Turning. It speaks to the God of his understanding, but it might equally be speaking to the greater spirit of humanity. This is a call to the universe to allow and help to make change. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter. For leaves and birds and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we've been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face and starting all over again, and this is painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means recognizing that we have the ability to change, and these things are hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. God, help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, and from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, and from fear to faith. Turn us around and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning. And turn us toward one another, God, for in isolation there is no life. And that's an awesome thought. In isolation there is no life. So come and let us worship here together. Our first hymn this morning is number 23, Bring Many Names. And we're going to do verses 1, 2, 3, and 6. So that's a weird one. 1, 2, 3, and 6. Bring Many Names, number 23. This portion of our service is our children's chapel, where we let the kids know what's going to be happening with the grown-ups when they're not here. And today, we're going to be talking about a holiday called Yom Kippur. And this is the holiday where we say we're sorry if we need to. The example I always like to use is, for any of you all out there too, you may have done this. You ever take a whole tube of toothpaste and squish it out? Get it all over the place? And once it's out, you ever try to put it back? It doesn't go back so easy as it came out. Yom Kippur is this idea that it's easy to do the thing, to say the mean thing or to break the thing, to squish the toothpaste out. But boy, are you in trouble when it's time to get it back in the tube. That takes some thought. And just saying sorry doesn't always cut it. If you kick your sister in the shins really, really hard, you can say you're sorry till you're blue. She's still going to have a big old bruise. Yom Kippur is about the day when you take the time to both be really sorry for what you did, to make amends for it if you can, and then to let go of it, to find ways to not carry that with you forever and ever. Because just like you really do owe them a serious apology, it also doesn't mean you're a bad person who deserves to walk around going, oh my God, I kicked my sister forever. Be sorry and then let it go. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is atoning, making up for it when you do something really bad, and then letting it go. So I hope you all have fun in RE today. Thank you for listening to me. And if you all would join me in the children's benediction. My offering words today are offered in a spirit of levity because giving should never hurt and it should always be joyous. The pastor of a small UU church was explaining to a colleague how he'd managed to make his church solvent in a particularly difficult church year. For a long time, he said, I prayed really hard, oh God, send us some money. But then I realized the Lord does not work that way and in fact may not even exist. So what did you do? His colleague asked. Looking around the well-decorated church, you certainly seem to be doing okay. Oh, it was easy, the first minister said. Once I realized the Lord doesn't hand out cash, I just robbed a bank and prayed like hell for forgiveness. Now, I'm not particularly good at larceny, so we are going to do the morning offering. And this morning's special offering does go to the All Faiths Food Bank, working together with Feeding America, Feeding Florida, and the Florida State Emergency Response Team. The food bank is helping our community with food and supplies. Thank you all for everything you give to your church. Thank you so much for these gifts and for everything you do. Our church isn't about our building, and especially after a rough week like we've just had, we are reminded over and over the church is about community. It's about being here together. We're a community of human hands and human hearts, and we share the good and the bad. We're entering into a time of sharing our joys and concerns, and this week, please, if there are things you need to share, especially after going through a hurricane, please feel free to share. Raise your hand. Laura will bring you a microphone.
I'm Donna Jewett. I just wanted to let you know that Fran's husband, Richard, fell last night, and he's in the ER, and they're actually taking care of him, and hopefully he's going to be able to get into a secure facility that'll help him in the long run. And I just wanted to thank again all the people who showed up for the cleanup, and especially the Blue Lotus people. They were amazing. Monk's son was carrying these logs on his shoulder, and it was just wonderful to see all this spirit, and we all helped each other. It was great. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Nancy Ryder, and I'm a member with many others here today of the Wednesday Spiritual Fellowship Group. And our group is having a few problems in that Mary Taylor fractured her ankle in 3 places and something else, and had surgery. So it's a long recovery for her. And Marcia Curry lives at Harbor Cove, and I haven't heard from her and can't find her and get in touch with her in several days. Her husband, Dale German, is at Manor Care suffering from a very long-term illness. So maybe my friend over there will tell us more, but please, you prayers. This is really serious for all of our members. Thank you.
Marcia Curry had a lot of damage to her mobile home. The roof came off. It's pretty severely damaged. If you know Marcia, you'll know how independent and what a strong woman she is. She's managing right now to sleep in the master bedroom with tarps, and people have helped carry out a lot of the damaged wet furniture. Dale, she did the night of the day of the hurricane, she was able to stay in Manor Care with her husband, Dale. He's going to be there for about 2 more weeks because he's on an IV antibiotic. But I think I think Marcia would really appreciate anybody who could reach out to her and just know that you're thinking, or she'll know that you're thinking about her.
Good morning, I'm Dave Lyon. I saw on Facebook today a post by Susan Frederick Gray, who's the president of the UUA, that today is Clergy Appreciation Day, of all things. So thank you to Reverend Amy and our spirit and our future and past leaders that tend to our spiritual needs.
My name is Kim Roden. I have a sorrow and a celebration. My sorrow is for anyone that was negatively impacted, either traumatically, their buildings, whatever. When Jerry and I moved down here from Minnesota, we always pledged that if a hurricane was coming west anywhere, we'd leave. And we left. I'm glad I wasn't here. We left for Irma. This time we did get a mandatory evacuation notice. And the reason I always leave is hey, 911 can't come and get me once you get a mandatory evacuation order, you're on your own. And so we're at an age, maybe not as much as some of our members, but we're not young anymore. We went over to visit my mentee from Vietnam, who used to be at Laurel Civic Center, where a lot of you use volunteer. And then his mother couldn't make enough money over here, and he moved to West Palm Beach. And we had some computers fixed for him. He said, we're going to come over and see you. And we were going to go anyway, but then when the hurricane, I said, we're coming a day early. So we spent, how did I spend my hurricane vacation? Tutoring. It was really great. And then I came home and my house wasn't wrecked. So it's a good news, bad news. I feel terrible for people who were affected negatively, and we've heard about those. But it was like, this was really an interesting paradox.
Hi, my name is Sheila, and I have a daughter and a granddaughter, and we did hunker down inside of our house. We did not get flooded with water, but there was a lot of intense and traumatic time for about 4 days. First, they would tell us we'd have electric, and then we didn't have any electric. We had no cell, we had no sources at all. So we did hunker down and made it out. That's it. We did the best we could.
Hi, I have good news, I think. The granddaughter of my heart, who has gone through bone marrow transplant and cancer and an amputation, is back in school after 4 years. She didn't lose any time. And I was very worried about how she would, as entering 9th grade, deal with the kids. She was elected class president.
I wondered if anybody had heard from Gail DeJoni, because she lives in Placida. And I think they were damaged. Carol? They left, so they're not around? Okay, so they're safe.
May the love of this community hold everyone who needs love and concern. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May the work of our hands and our hearts support, aid, and comfort all those who hunger or thirst for food or water, justice or freedom. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. And may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
Post-Hurricane Ian, A Blessing for When You're Different Now, by Katie Bowler. Blessed are you, dear one, when the world around you has changed. Everything is different now. Your body, your age, your relationships, your job, your faith, the things that once brought you joy, the way you existed in the world, the people you love and trust and rely on. Things have changed, and it would be silly to imagine you haven't changed with them. You are not who you once were. Bless that old self that did such a good job with what you knew, that made you who you were, all the mistakes and heartbreak, naivete and courage. And blessed are you who you are now, you who aren't pretending that things are the same, who continue to grow and stretch and show up to your life as it really is, wholehearted, vulnerable, maybe a little afraid. So blessed are we that changed.
Please join me in 1 minute of silent thought, meditation, or prayer.
A little background about Kol Nidre. Before sunset, on the eve of Yom Kippur, the congregation gathers at the synagogue. The ark is opened, and 2 people take from it 2 Torah scrolls. Then they take their places, 1 on each side of the cantor, and the 3 forming a bet din or a rabbinical court. By the authority, they recite this: by the authority of the court on high, and by authority of the court down here, by permission of the one who is everywhere, and by the permission of this congregation, we hold it lawful to pray with sinners. This invitation to outcasts is not specifically for Kol Nidre, but for the whole of Yom Kippur, it being obvious then when even sinners join in repenting, the occasion is worthy of divine clemency. The cantor then chants the passage, beginning with the words Kol Nidre. They repeat it 3 times, just in case someone came in late. This is the prayer. All vows, all prohibitions, and oaths and consecrations, and synonymous terms that we may vow or swear or consecrate or prohibit upon ourselves from the day previous the Day of Atonement until this Day of Atonement, and from this Day of Atonement until the next Day of Atonement that will come for our benefit. Regarding them all, we repudiate them. All of them are undone, abandoned, canceled, null and void, not in force, not in effect. Our vows are no longer our vows, and our prohibitions are no longer prohibitions, and our oaths are no longer oaths. The leader and the congregation then recite Numbers 15:26. May all the people of Israel be forgiven, including all the strangers who live in their midst, for all the people are in fault.
Rituals matter, and this holiday is about the ritual of letting go of things, of saying you're sorry for anything you did over the past year and letting go of it so you don't drag it around with you forever. It lets us take a first step into healing. But in order to do that, you have to do a couple things. You have to bear witness to one another and stand in witness for one another. So you have to hear people say, I'm sorry, and people have to hear you. You don't just go stand in your closet and whisper. And part of the way we do that is through ritual. So a few years ago, a Jewish UU minister, Rob Eller Isaacs, wrote a litany of atonement, and we're going to do a simple version of it today. Before and after this reading, we're going to sing I Know This Rose Will Open, which is a nice short. We're going to sing it 1 time through before and 1 time through after. Very simple. The actual litany of atonement, I will do a sentence, and the response is, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Very simple, and I will also say the sentence. So would you play through 1 time, I Know This Rose Will Open. I want to make sure everybody knows this. It's a very simple one. Okay, if we're ready, let's do I Know This Rose Will Open. for remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that we've struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For these and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. And one more time, I know this rose will open. If you take a china plate and you smash it on the ground and you gather up all the bits, even the little tiny ones, and you tell it that you're sorry and you really, really mean it, does it make any difference whatsoever? Well, of course not. So today we're going to talk about breaking and healing, and we're also going to talk about burritos and wolves and the Japanese art of kintsugi, because if it wasn't a little weird, it wouldn't be one of my sermons. Now, there's been a lot of conversation over the last 10 or 15 years about what UUism is and where we fall on the religious spectrum, and you'll hear everything. We're Protestant, we're post-Protestant, we're postmodern, we're post-Christian, post-Jewish. Some days I feel like we ought to be posted somewhere else that's crazy. We're a religion, we're a movement. What we're not is good at talking about what to do when we've screwed up and offended against our own personal values. We're not good at that as a denomination. We don't have any verbiage around it. For those of you who've come out of Christianity, Christianity has dogma. And for a lot of Christian religion denominations, they say that humans are inherently sinful. And because the first man and woman screwed up, we're all born needing to be cleaned up. And so the answer is Jesus. That's the answer you get given, the Messiah. Washes away the sin we're born with and all that gets added later. The official fancy term for that is substitutionary atonement, a loving God providing humanity with the only sacrifice big enough to wash away all the sin. Now, for some of us, that makes sense. For others of us, the crucifixion, suffering, and death of the radical young Rabbi Jesus of Nazareth are about the time and the political system in which he lived. His life and death may have meaning, but they don't erase any wrongs. Others of us don't believe he existed. But even in mainstream Christianity, there are rituals around this atonement. It just doesn't happen. You have to ask for it. You have to have faith in it. You have to believe in it. The most basic ritual of atonement is called the Lord's Prayer. It's from the book of Matthew in the Christian Bible. Some of you may know it. It starts with Our Father who art in heaven. And it's a plea. Forgive me. Forgive me for what I've done. Judaism recognizes atonement. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Rosh Hashanah, the new year. It was when everything was done and you were ready to go, and you had 10 days to dwell in that uneasiness of the now and the not yet. Yom Kippur is the day when you forgive and make it possible for others to forgive you. It's the day when you atone, when you accept the atonement of others. We need this idea, as you use, not necessarily with all the religious pieces that go with it, but this idea of atonement. Because it's a way to deal with the places you've messed up this year. It's a way to deal with sin or mistakes we've made against our own values. When I say sin, I mean places where you have violated your own beliefs. Gives us a way to deal with that without violating our individual worth and dignity. Now, it's funny, when I was writing this sermon, I was thinking about when Chipotle, the restaurant, some of you may know it, it's a Mexican place, when it first opened, about 14 years ago, where I was at the time, so here come the burritos. When it first opened, I worked with a bunch of incredibly athletic people. We had one gentleman that worked with us that was a marathoner. He loved to run before and after work. So when Chipotle first opened, he would run to Chipotle at lunch and get a burrito. These things are the size of an infant, and he would get it with double meat. And he would come back to work with his burrito, and he would sit at this table, this amazingly slender runner, and he would eat this 2-pound loaf of meat and rice. And we would watch it. It was like watching a National Geographic special with the wolves at the, And he would eat this whole thing. And by the time he was done, literally, his stomach would be bulging out. His pants would be uncomfortable. He was completely weighed down by what he had eaten. He couldn't run after lunch. For 2 or even 3 hours after lunch, this man was moving slow. He couldn't do much. He was weighed down with what was sitting in his gut. And then it would digest, and he would be himself again. Because food digests quickly. It may not always be comfortably. But then it's gone, and you feel like yourself again. But when my life gets too full, when what I've taken in of mistakes and problems and places where I didn't live up to my own expectations, the burrito of my life is stuffed full of my hobbies and my family and my friends and your coworkers. It's sauced up with social media and news blasts and healthcare and school shootings and all the things. And day after day, we eat it up because we can't do anything else. But sometimes we feel like we're the wolves at the kill. We're weighed down by 2,000 pounds of what we've had to ingest. We're almost too weighted at times to move anymore. There's an old kid's story some of you may know about a monkey who sees the jar filled with the nuts that he really, really wants. And he puts his grubby little hand in the jar and he grabs as many as he can. But his now overloaded hand won't fit back through the mouth of the jar, and he's so unwilling to let go that he sits and cries because he can't have even one nut. Relaxing our fists and letting go of some of our treasure isn't easy, but it's the only way to enjoy them. Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah aren't about the dates for us as you use. It doesn't matter when we choose to celebrate our new year and our Day of Atonement, as long as it's about the same time every year. Pick a date that works for you. January 1st is lovely. Yom Kippur is lovely. Pick a date that's the end of the old, the time when you're going to stop eating the burrito, the time when you want to recognize that you can't withdraw your hand, that your belly's dragging on the ground from everything you've had to take in this year. And you reclaim your power to let it go. You take a week or 10 days and you examine the previous year. You pick up the shreds and the shards of all the plates that you've smashed. You clean up all the toothpaste that you squeezed out. You digest that burrito of your life. You walk away from the dinner table. And when you're ready, there is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. You empty yourself of all the weight you've been carrying, all the screw-ups, all the breakage. It's the day when you say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And you say, I forgive you. The Kol Nidre means all vows. Now it asks the divine to release us from the sacred vows we made in the past year and let us start fresh. These are not promises to people, but are promises we made for how we would act in the world based on our view of what is divine. This is a different translation. In the court of heaven and the court of earth, by the permission of God, blessed be he, and with the permission of this congregation, we hold it lawful to pray with those who have erred. All vows, obligations, oaths, and things we swore were forbidden by any name, which we may vow or swear or pledge, or whereby we may be bound from this day of atonement till the next, whose happy coming we await, we repent. What's this mean? It means we recognize people screw up. We're imperfect, and we don't even have a capacity for absolute perfection. It means we're saying out loud, I promised stuff this year. I'll be kinder, I'll be better. I won't cuss so much, I won't yell at the kids, I won't get aggravated when my grandkids do the thing. We swore that, and we didn't live up to it. And we recognize it, and we should be forgiven. And we're going to start over. Doesn't matter what belief system you're working within. If you're Christian, this is the time of year to contemplate where you have fallen away, fallen short of your beliefs. If you're Buddhist, it's a time for mindful contemplation of the past year's unskillful or unwholesome acts, place to seek greater wisdom. For a Wiccan, you might recognize the turning of the wheel on one of the greater sabbats, and for a humanist, it might be a time for thoughtful assessment of how you are living up to your stated values. The thing that does matter is willingness to both forgive and be forgiven for those moments when things didn't happen the way they should have. But this is often the point where we clench our little fist and we hold on to the nuts. Because, who knows, I don't deserve forgiveness, or I don't think I get to say if I should be forgiven, because they don't deserve forgiveness and I don't want to let go. But it doesn't work that way. I can keep punishing myself, but I can't control how the people I've hurt feel. If I'm sorry for what I've done and recognize where I broke my vows to myself and my world, and I resolve to do better to the best of my ability, then that is enough. I can try to punish others for what they've done to me. I can hold hatred and anger in my heart, and then what? I'm hate-filled and angry, and they still don't care. Forgiveness of others isn't about whether or not they deserve it. It's about cutting the chain they've got around your neck. The burrito weighed me down, I digest it, it is gone. I pick up the plate that I've broken, I collect every shard, and I say I'm sorry. All of that's Rosh Hashanah. That's what we did 2 weeks ago. The end. All the things are finished. Going a step further is Yom Kippur. In Japan, there's an art form called kintsugi, the art of repairing with gold. So I take that plate I smashed, and instead of trying to form gluey little seams, I take solid gold and I put it back together, and it's this beautiful artwork. I don't try to hide the cracks, but I repair them with something more precious. When I'm done, it's a priceless work of art, and that is Yom Kippur. Repair yourself with gold. Amen. My turn?
Though we extinguish this light, carry with you the flame of creation, which makes the broken whole again. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our final hymn today. Wake, now my senses, verse 1 through 3.
May the armor on our hearts be broken. May we be forgiven, and may we forgive. Peace, Ashe, and may it be so.